Hello. I am going to be speaking today about spiritual power, Al Green, and Trump's impeachment. My name is Andrea Winn, and I'm speaking from the perspective of being a very successful justice activist in a spiritual context of exposing the leader of what used to be the most powerful global Tibetan Buddhist community. I led an initiative that exposed him in less than 1 year as a sexual predator, and he has since had to leave the community, and there may be further court cases ensuing. So, what I'm going to be talking about today is inspired by the YouTube video of Representative Al Green defending his outburst. So, as I think everyone knows, he relentlessly made outbursts during Donald Trump's quote unquote State of the Union speech, and Al was thrown out. Um, he was um, he was escorted out by security. So he later defended his outbursts, and so I watched the full YouTube of his defending, and I would like to address some of the things that he said in his defense. So, first of all, I appreciate his leadership in taking what is often referred to as the high road. So, he did not try to stir any anger towards the Speaker of the House. He did not try to stir any anger towards the security that escorted him out, like in a very clear way. And he really has made it clear that he is not trying to cause trouble for the sake of trouble's sake. He really talked about why he was being disobedient and pushing against, um, you know, just silently letting Trump do what he is doing. And so I appreciate his leadership in taking that high road and not trying to just tap into emotion and to stir, like anger that is coming from a place of just doing battle, American against American. So I really appreciate him taking that high road. So he draws very clearly on the work of Martin Luther King, and I love him bringing King's presence and King's legacy and King's connection with a higher power into what is happening. So Martin Luther King was clearly a man who is in deep connection with God. He carried a holiness around him, and he was able to speak and to lead from a place of God's love merged with King's human passion. So it was this merging of God's love and King's human passion. And there was a magical alchemy that rose a nation to radical change. And so what I would like to propose is that the darkness that is now challenging us is different than the darkness that King challenged. Um, it's in a very different nature. At that time, there was ingrained bigotry, and now we have a cult and a cult leader. So we've got this cult leader and half of the nation who is, um, you know, like not only emotionally but also chemically involved in this cult. Where, for those who are unfamiliar with the dynamics of cults, there is this notion of the double down. So when the cult leader does something that shows that there is a problem with them, like maybe they are morally corrupt, when a cult follower sees this crack in this beautiful lily white picture of the cult leader, rather than allowing that crack to cause them to question and to maybe think, Is there a problem here? Instead, they do the double down. And I think this is from gambling, this notion of the double down. So the double down is that they exert extra pressure to suppress anything within them that might question the leader, because they do not want that connection that they feel with the leader and that connection with what they feel, like, whether it's magical powers or, all kinds of money is going to come their way. They do not want that to be impacted by seeing a crack in what's happening. So they double down, they repress it with extra strength so that they are able to maintain that cult connection with the leader and what the leader has promised. So we have a different dynamic happening now than what King faced. And so I would propose that we should be open to other ways of challenging protests. That was a big part of what worked in King's initiative. Protests are helpful, and I would also suggest that we're going to need something more in this case. So getting back to Representative Green's defense, he brought up David and Goliath, and he talked about how Trump is this Goliath, and he talked about how Trump has also gotten these powerful figures around him to even further support and to strengthen his being this all-powerful giant of Goliath. And so Representative Green, he talked about how, all of these Democrats with their cards are like an army of Davids. And I would like to gently propose that in a way that a little bit might take away from the fact that David had the hand of the Lord upon him, and he was able to do something that was profound and powerful. Like there was something very powerful about that support of the Lord behind him, that as a single man, he was able to have the courage and to connect with the situation with Goliath and see Goliath's vulnerability. And he was able to slingshot that stone into Goliath's vulnerable spot and kill the giant. And so, there is something about David's alignment with God. He went through great challenges and he really worked on himself. And, maybe part of it is that he was destined to do this, but he also had to do his own work in order to clear all of his human ego stuff, to be in clear alignment with God in order to perform in the way that he did, to be able to do what he did. And so he worked hard. I do agree with Representative Green that now is a different time where, perhaps maybe an army of Davids need to arise. But what I would suggest is that it needs to be more than the Democrats in the House. It needs to be all of us. We all are being called to do this spiritual work of letting go of our egos, letting go of our heavy baggage from the past, and opening to a much richer and fuller relationship with God, Goddess, with Source, however you see it. That is how I am seeing that we are being called. And so I have been talking about that since November the 6th, when I posted my first video, that all of us are being called through this experience to let go of what no longer serves us within ourselves, to heal what needs to be healed, and to really step into being the powerful light warriors that we are, each in our own individual way. Everyone has their unique path and their unique gifts. And this is the time when we need to be taking the steps of our spiritual path to grow into our alignment with God, to be able to do what needs to be done right now. So, I would like to speak a little bit more about how I created my alignment for doing Buddhist Project Sunshine in 2018, where, this was an honest to God example of David and Goliath, because I was a single nobody woman who was challenging a very powerful cult leader, Mipam Rinpoche, and his very powerful group of people who protected what was going on because they enjoyed the power. So, first of all, I did seek spiritual empowerment before doing this. I drove all the way from Toronto to Maryland on very quick turnaround when I found out about this empowerment for a very powerful Tibetan Buddhist figure, female, Yeshe Tsogyal. There was a Yeshe Tsogyal empowerment happening, and I found out about it and I looked into it. I felt very called to go, and that very day I arranged going, and I drove and arrived there. I think it was like 2 a.m., checked into my hotel, and then showed up the next morning for this empowerment. I felt very strongly drawn to this empowerment with Yeshe Tsogyal. And Yeshe Tsogyal was originally an actual woman in 8th century Tibet, and she was the primary consort to the very powerful Tibetan Buddhist. I mean, he's been called the second Buddha, Padmasambhava. She was the consort to Padmasambhava. She was one powerful woman, and so powerful that now they still give empowerments in Yeshe Tsogyal so that people can connect with her spiritual essence and energy. So I felt very called, and I feel that that was a big part of my spiritual empowerment for what I did with Buddhist Project Sunshine. I very clearly called on Yeshe Tsogyal to guide me and to help me. I also was a practicing Catholic and sang in a choir, and having, singing in the choir gave me certain access to the priests that maybe not everyone had, because all of us congregated, in that back room before every mass. And, there were these opportunities to meet the priest in ways that maybe normally you weren't able to. And so when I was looking to do Buddhist Project Sunshine, I honestly have to say, I was scared right out of my mind. I was having trouble even coordinating, like, riding a bus and getting to my destination. I would get lost and like be wandering around on the street. Um, I had my iPhone and I was trying to follow the blue dot, but I was so scared that I wasn't able to make these connections just for doing everyday things of like arriving somewhere. And so just before launching Buddhist Project Sunshine, I had this idea of reaching out to the priest, and I asked him to anoint me. He explained to me that there was no sacrament that was appropriate for what I was asking for. I mean, because basically I was being a David going up against a Goliath. There is no sacrament for anointing. But he said that he had a special connection himself with St. Joseph, and he had oils that carried the blessing of St. Joseph, and that he could anoint me with those oils. So we arranged that after the next Mass, or maybe it was before the Mass, that we would meet privately. And so he anointed me with these oils of St. Joseph, making the sign of the cross on my forehead, in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then on each, he had me hold out my palms, and he did the anointment on each of my palms as well. And honestly, I feel like that was also a huge part of what gave me the courage and the stamina for what I did. I am going to be posting another video this week about the incredible challenges that I faced and how I was able to meet those challenges in order to successfully do this. Really, it was grassroots justice activism that in less than 1 year was able to expose the leader as a sexual predator. So I hope that you will check out the other video I'm posting this week because I'm going to be sharing things I've never shared before about an inside look at what I did and why it was challenging and how I met those challenges. So I have been posting these messages about how we need to each of us find our way into this deep spiritual alignment with God, with Goddess, with Source, however you see it. I've been posting videos, I've been offering free programs, I've been offering paid programs, and all of it is about getting into that spiritual alignment. You cannot simply just be focused on what's going on out there. You need to attend to your own inner being and clear and to cleanse and to allow your bright light to come out. That is demanded of these times. So, let me see here. I have prepared some notes. So, we do need to explore about what more is required beyond the stories of Martin Luther King and David. And I would suggest that a big part of what more is required at this point is actively bringing in the power of the divine feminine. These stories that we know from the past involved God as a father figure, and what we're facing now is a much bigger challenge than what was faced before. And we need to call in the power of the divine feminine. So this is about bringing in the wise mother and that special energy that a mother provides for giving birth to new things. I'm proposing we need to give birth to new things within ourselves. We need to give birth to our gifts, and we need the protection and the love and the warmth of the mother in order to give birth to our gifts. And another important part of the divine feminine is also knowing when it is time to allow something to die and to assist it to die. That is another part of the divine feminine because there is a cycle of life, and the cycle of life includes death, and then that's what creates that space for a new birth. So we also need that compassion and the love and the grace of the divine feminine for allowing and facilitating a good and proper death for those parts of ourselves that it's time to let go of. And that needs to be done with love. It's not something you just take your sword and hack off the head. It needs to be done in a loving, caring, and appropriate way. And again, the divine feminine is the expert at that. We are needing to unleash deep compassion and the deep force of love. I have been speaking about that, especially since bringing through this new feminine energy named Saramanju. And we are needing to allow this divine feminine force of compassion and love to well up and to come forward, to spill out into this world in rightful ways. And that can include allowing deep and powerful right rage. And I don't mean destructive rage. I mean high vibration, clear, coming from a place of compassion, rage. This is a capacity that so many have lost, especially women, our ability to be angry because we're supposed to be polite. We're supposed to care more about the feelings of someone else than our own. All of these things have severed our connection with proper, appropriate rage. And I am wanting to help allow space to open for for righteous anger, for right rage. So this rage, it needs to be pristine and clear. And the image that I will give is like a hot knife through butter, so that it is going easily. It's not about ripping and shredding. It is like a hot knife through butter, zoom. And that is the energy with which we can be creating change, first within ourselves, then within our own personal lives, and then in the world. And I've been talking about this quality of this hot knife through butter, and I've talked about it in the Tibetan term of sharap, the Sanskrit term of prajna, which can be defined in English as discriminating awareness wisdom, or seeing things as they are. And so one of the images for sharap is a sword that is so sharp that it cuts itself. So this is the type of insight and clarity that I am talking about, that can be behind this righteous anger, this very appropriate rage as a response to what is happening in the world, and that we can act from a clear and pristine, deep, fierce, compassionate place for that. And also in the other video I'm posting this week about my experience of leading Buddhist Project Sunshine, I'm going to be talking about that fierce compassion, because that's where I came from in doing my justice activist work. And it distinguished what I was doing from what others were doing at that time. So I did introduce about Saramanju and this very wonderful quality of sharap or prajna or discriminating awareness in the recent Warriors of Peace Training 101 that I gave. It's a free program. The replay is available. And so I'll include a link to that below for anybody that would like to access the quality that was given in a very embodied, energetic way through that Warrior of Peace Training 101. So I'm going to close this video here, and I hope that you will check out the other video where I'm going to be talking about my experiences of leading Buddhist Project Sunshine and what the difference is between speaking your truth and doing justice activism. Because I'm going to be really getting into some of the core aspects of what makes justice activism very powerful for creating change, even in very dark situations like what we are experiencing now with Trump. So thank you for your kind attention. I am wishing you a beautiful day. Please do subscribe if you like what you heard here, and come out for my next community event, which is going to be April the 23rd. Okay, have a great day.